Yeah, hit that red button.
This is Mornings with Matt, the Deering Acting Studio podcast, where we discuss the connection between life and acting.
Yeah! Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mornings with Matt. That was a new intro by one of our super fans, Astrid.
Woo! She took my job.
Yo, that was hyped, bro. That was really.
She was so hyped to be in here yesterday.
That was
sick.
so good. Astrid, hopefully you're watching. Well done, young lady. That was a very cool intro. So, speaking of very cool and being hyped, I am super hyped because we've got a very, very cool guest on today. I know we've been looking forward to this all week. The owner, operator, model extraordinaire, talent finder of like what? From Ford Robert Black Agency here in Phoenix, Arizona, Sheree Hartwell.
The cheering. That's great. Please keep it coming.
Careful, he'll keep hitting the button.
I will. I do like playing with the sound effects. They're a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for having me bright and shiny on this Saturday morning. Hey,
Yeah, we're so excited to have you. What an amazing day. And it's hard to get an agent such as yourself pinned down. So thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I'm usually up early. I have two little daughters. So when Adam came to me and said, "Oh, it's 7 o'clock on a Saturday," and he's like 23, and that is not like in his MO. So for me, I was like, "Oh yeah, I can do that."
No problem.
That's awesome. So how old are your littles?
I have two daughters, and they're 4 and 8.
Oh,
so
fun.
one is still preschool, and then one in 3rd grade. So, yes, so they're very busy. And today we're going to the pumpkin patch up north. So I'm sneaking in a little mornings with Matt, and then we're off to Prescott to get a tiny bit of cooler weather. So we'll see.
I love that. Love that. Okay, so Sheree, I want to dive right in here to obviously the Ford Robert Black Agency. Love your background. Looking great over there.
Oh, thank you. Yes, hey.
So how did you come about taking over the agency? I would love to hear your story of how it transitioned and you took over.
Yeah, well, I was on the other side. I was a model when I was about 12 years old, and Robert had signed me to this agency, which was now 30 years ago. And I, modeled through high school and through college and whatnot, and was fortunate enough to get to, go to Europe and experience some of those things outside of this market, which was really great. And I kind of knew that I wanted to be on the other side really the entire time because I enjoyed the business so much, but the modeling side of it was, it just wasn't for me, So there's so much uncertainty. You never know, like when you're working, how much money you're going to be making. And I was always and have been very structured person who thrived off of things like that. So I knew that if I was going to do that as a career, it was going to be a little bit rough. So I went to college and during college they had said, hey, you need to, you have to have an internship to graduate. So I called up Robert Black and said, hey, would you consider having me as a summer intern? And he was like, that'd be amazing, but you can't be a model anymore. We'd have to take you off the roster kind of for conflict of interest. So I was like, oh, that's totally fine. I'm done. So I interned here, almost probably 25 years ago. And, kind of started learning the ropes. I took a position out in San Francisco and worked as an agent there for about 5 years, which was really, eye-opening, working in a major market and, really kind of getting the ins and outs of it all. And, then I relocated back home here, and things were kind of changing in the local market. And, on a fateful morning, I asked Robert, while we were out to breakfast, like, hey, would you ever consider, selling your company to me? thinking of moving back. And although I'd love to be an agent, I kind of want a little more. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, oh no. Whoa. What have I done? That was, that was like almost 16 years ago. So, it's been an interesting transition, to say the least. You know, Robert is definitely, he's got, he was at the time for me, my business mentor and very infamous, and had this, very well known in the community. And I was this little 26-year-old kid kind of coming in and trying to get everyone to, respect me, and certainly learn the ropes myself. But, I didn't go to business school. I've never, before any of this, I had never run an agency or a company for that matter. So it's been a growing process, a fun one, and definitely some tribulations, lots of them. But
sure. Yeah.
We've, you learn along the way too. And I think for me, it's been an amazing journey. You kind of learn something from it kind of every day.
Yeah. And you've got a podcast that you started around the time of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It was, probably the middle of last year. And I had told the staff here, I was like, hey guys, I think it would be really fun, to do a podcast. And everyone's kind of looking at me like, oh gosh, just what Sheree needs is something else to be like, part of. I'm very busy, and I like to say that way. And my husband was like, we don't have time for that. Where are you going to fit that in? And so I kind of tabled it, of course. COVID hit. We had all the time on our hands. And so I said, okay, today, this is when I'm starting it. And it's called Camera Ready with Sheree Hartwell. And it's basically kind of, I would equate it similar kind of to what you guys are doing. But, for me, it's kind of a sit down, an opportunity to sit down with people and have intimate conversations. I think that there's so much of a facade around our industry and our business that people think it's all glamour and it's all, fascinating, which on some days it is, but we all know not every day. And, so it started off as I kind of wanted it to be like, let's sit down and have a coffee or a glass of wine with some of my industry friends, and, kind of dish about what's going on in the business and some of the, facts and fictions about it. And so we've had to do majority of it virtually, which, as we've all had to pivot. But it's been really fun. I think we have about 14 episodes. So, we started in June. So we've been rather active. I know you guys have put the pedal to the metal. I feel like you guys have like 100 of them, or 150.
We do, yeah. I got to say though, I've listened to your podcast, and I like it a lot. It's very good. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Thank you.
It's really neat. And I think there's a great vibe to it, and it feels like you are getting that sort of insider take from people that you don't normally get. So I highly recommend it. It is Camera Ready with Sheree Hartwell. You can find it on iTunes, right?
Yes, on iTunes, on Spotify, all of the, certainly on all the platforms. So we've enjoyed it. For me, it's been kind of a bright spot, a little time to set aside and say, hey, let's sit down and talk about it. I mean, I get questions, every day about how can I get my child into the business? And, so I think that sharing some of the real life stories that, yes, it is a fascinating industry, but it's a business at the end of the day. And there's the highs and lows as with anything. Right. So. Yeah.
So I want to share a little funny story here with our listeners. So we have all this fancy equipment here. we got the soundboard, the microphones, and the lights, and the whole bit, right? And
it looks very amazing.
Thank you so much. And Sheree was kind enough to invite me onto her show, and so we're connecting. And I gotta say, we had really good chemistry going that day.
Yeah.
And
fun.
we're about halfway through the podcast, and I look down, and I just my jaw just dropped and my cheeks were pink. it doesn't matter how nice your stuff is. If you don't hit the record button, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't really matter.
So we had this great conversation. A lot of it didn't get recorded. So I know we are going to be repeating that at some point, which I'm very excited for, to be back on your show, because
Yes.
it was a lot of fun.
Well, and we've learned our way here, by kind of doing it. We've been successful, but we don't have all of the hype that you guys have. So I was like, even this morning, I said, do I just have to push the Zoom link? Is that all I have to do? Yeah, that's all you got to do. I said, okay, great. I can do that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so, but from that podcast, from talking to you, I was really drawn to one story in particular that you told me about
cool.
your history, and that was you taking out the trash.
Oh, yes.
And I just want to lean into that a little bit. I want to kind of just maybe would you tell us that story a little bit about when you were the one taking out the trash at the agency? Because I find this to be such a powerful and just amazing story for anybody who's thinking that this industry in any way, shape, or form is easy. It isn't. That you always have to be willing to do the work to be great. So yeah, when you started your agency, you were the one taking out the trash. Tell us about that.
Well, it's really interesting because, I bought the agency. I was 26 years old. I was the youngest one in the office. And so with all of the staff that I had essentially inherited at the time, and, I'm trying to earn the respect of everybody. And they're probably like, who's this kid, And so I was raised, and I'm still of that same belief that you have to work just as hard as everybody, regardless of your position. So I was always the first one at the office. I was the last one to leave, in the very, very beginning. And this was going on for years when I was trying to just really, earn a reputation. And so every night before everyone would leave, I'd go around and I'd collect all the trash, and everyone, and it was just part of the deal. It was like I was kind of like tidying up and kind of had that, that vibe. And so one day when we had an intern, we usually have a couple of interns, and the intern, was helping me put the trash together. And he said, so, you take out the trash? And he's like, I thought I should be doing that, And I said, yeah. I said, you know what? Hey, if I ask somebody to do something, I should be willing to do it myself. And literally, I think like everybody in the office was like, oh, maybe Sheree shouldn't take out the trash. Or what? Is this like a thing, And so from then on out, it was so strange. I mean, I still like do my own trash in my office, but it's like, I think for people, and coming up, and again, I think a lot of it was for me proving to myself that, I was just as hard of a worker. Yes, I had, bought this agency, and yes, there was this, stigma of glamour involved in it, of course, but I'm from the Midwest. I was raised as like somebody who, grinds and hustles, and my parents did that, and never to be above any of those things. So I hope and I believe that our talent, and also my staff know that I'm willing to get, down in the trenches just as much with them on all of these things. So I still do a little bit of trash, just so you know, 15 years later. So.
I love that. And I can tell you I do too. And we talk about cleaning a lot around here, actually, because for me it's a spiritual thing. And I feel like it says a lot about you as a person that this is who you are, and you attribute it to your upbringing, and I attribute it to you being a good leader, really.
Yeah.
There's a book called Extreme Ownership that I highly recommend, and it's a military man who's delivering the book, and he talks about this idea of, as a leader, taking extreme ownership for everything, and people watch you, and they are going to do what you do. And so rather than just telling people to do things and then making excuses, you can say, all right, I'm gonna demonstrate myself, mopping the floors or cleaning or taking out the trash. And depending on the day, it is what it is. But there would be an intern, and they would watch how you do it. And and if they took it over the job, because I always say, if you hold the mop in our place, that's a power position. And everyone knows it. Everyone knows that if they see somebody else mopping around here, they're like, oh, who's that? Like, who did they let mop the floors? Because they, they must be
You've
important.
moved up.
Yeah,
Yo,
exactly.
this happened last night at Industry Night.
Really?
And he's on right now, so that's why I want to talk about him. He also was like, was that a rotary phone in the background? So based on that
Who is
funny
this?
joke, Nick.
Oh, Nick. Okay.
So
What's up, Nick Malata?
Yo, Nick. Woo!
Yay, the cheering. I love the cheering.
She likes your buttons. That's awesome.
All the
yeah.
models do. Models love sound effects. It's just facts.
Well, I was a cheerleader in high school and college. Well, middle school, high school, and college. So I'm always the one that's going, "Yay!" cheering for everybody. And so I'll always take the cheers button.
Awesome.
Love it. So basically what happened last night was we finish everything and I start grabbing the broom and I start just like sweeping just to get us wrapped up really quick. And Nick comes over, just grabs it from my hand. He's like, I got it. Like one of those things. And it was just a moment where I felt so good. It was just this really cool thing where I could tell in his mind, he was like, no, you don't do that. Like, let me do that for you. And
let's take this example here. So that's amazing and good job, Nick. And now we started our chaos troupe again, and we kind of revived it. And
Where's the cheers?
And Nick,
yeah. If he ever misses it, Sheree, feel free to just do that anytime.
Okay, I'll do that. That's good. Yes.
And Nick has just sort of risen up as a leader without us asking him to. And all of a sudden he's showing up and he's bringing donuts and he's cleaning and he's doing certain things. And before you know it, he has the respect of the entire troop and us just based on his actions. Well, guess what? Nick's a military man. Nick knows what it is to lead a troop of people.
Sure.
And he's done that, and now he's in this next phase of his life. By the way, he's not signed, I don't think. Is Nick signed?
No.
Nope.
Oh,
He also has
Nick.
a question.
Oh,
Nick's-
cheers, cheers.
So he's a hard worker,
Yeah.
Sheree. Okay, all right.
I like
so
hard workers, believe me.
Since we're on him anyway, he actually had a question
all right,
for her as well.
let's get next question.
Oh, good. I love questions.
His is about how do you screen clients and what are the factors they look for when considering new talent?
Okay, so the idea here, everyone, is the question is for Sheree is basically their process of bringing talent in, what she does when she looks at talent, and then how she evaluates them, and then decides whether or not she's going to bring them on as part of the agency. Okay, Sheree.
Yeah, great. I would say like pre-COVID times, we did have an open call, which was, once a week here in our office. And it was a quick process, but a time for people to come in, get a couple of snapshots taken, bring their resume, some of the, headshot pictures, whatever it may be. And it was kind of an in-person process. We still now do a ton of submissions via our website, fortrba.com, and there's a submission tab there. You can load up everything through there. The interesting thing is today, because what I'm finding in the market is it's becoming more and more competitive. Speaking specifically about the business today, given the pandemic and whatnot, the projects that come in, we're very aggressive on making sure, like, hey, this is this project, and we're going to do our best to book somebody on this. Not that we wouldn't have always, but there's limited work, and meaning that the people that we're taking on today have to be able to compete with the people that we already have. And so, when it's coming to the acting side of things, we are looking for people who have trained. We are looking for people who are up on their game when it comes to headshots and have something on their resume, specifically speaking to us. I mean, there is a bit of a development process, but today, where the market is, we're looking to kind of like sign and go and get you, working. We have seen a lot as well in these last 6 months per se, that, there are still really, really big needs when it comes to ethnicity and a really wide range of looks that people are looking for, which I love personally. So, our onboarding is dictated a lot by the market and the clients, but we also, do a pretty pretty good screening on finding out, do you have previous experience? What can you offer to us as well, so that we can also, provide that same service to you when we're trying to get you booked with clients. So, everything is still done virtually today. We would take a meeting with somebody that we're interested on, probably via Zoom, and learn a little bit more about them. But for the acting side of it, we are definitely being pretty selective when it comes to making sure that people have had training and that they are going to at least be a bit competitive when they come in, instead of, taking on a whole bunch of new people right away. It's evolving, and there's some people who may have not trained, and they come right in and they have an amazing screen presence and they're ready and able to go. And then it's like, okay, we have to get you over here and get some, professional training when it comes to things like that too.
Yeah. So I think probably you and I can help each other here a little bit, because I like to speak from the agent side of things sometimes to help explain your point of view to actors, and I would love for you to explain your point of view for our actors from our side, because we always believe in this idea of never stop training, and the idea being you want to be working on mastery, which is a never-ending pursuit of getting better. And so, in my opinion, it doesn't matter how good you are. Like you said, if you're already great coming in, cool, let me put you in this little pocket over here and get you some really great training, because we want to compete at a higher level and compete at a higher level. And for me, when we're casting, for instance, I'm less interested in how good you are, and I'm more interested in how much better you are. That's something that I'm very curious about. And if you start sliding backwards 2 or 3 times in a row, even if you're still better, I'd rather bring up an up-and-comer. I'd rather bring up somebody who's clearly working hard, who's clearly dedicated, who really, really wants this. I'm like, well, they're going to be here 5 years from now. You're not. I'd rather give them the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I think that, nothing makes me, you're talking about people who are good, or, when you want to see the talent booked, nothing makes me more upset than we get a project in and it gets cast out in LA, or LA talent book it when it's an Arizona project. I'm like, no. I'm like racing around. I'm like, Matt, who, we went to LA. And it's like, that is like, it infuriates me, because I know that we have the talent that's here. But again, with the thought that things are more and more and more competitive, and because things have gone virtual, more so than they had in the past, I think more and more of the clients are thinking, okay, well, hey, I'm in Arizona, but let me see if I can see what's going on out here in LA, and I can book those people. I don't have to see them, because now we can do all of this virtually. So always thinking as well that you're not just competing with the local people here in this market, or the people who are in the room, with you in that respect. Now we're also competing with the LA actors.
Right.
And those are the people, again, who, if they're doing it full time, they're definitely in training, and they're definitely not stopping at their introductory, class.
There's an actor model that you brought in. His name is Eric Cedinho. You know what I'm talking about?
I love Eric. Yay.
So we had Eric on our show here a few days back, and what an amazing human being he is.
Oh,
he told us all about
his
his bike riding days, he's still doing it obviously, but some of the trips he did recently, and it just sort of like, it was amazing. But his story to get to you was really great, because here he is, just really living his passion and staying in one lane. And then you had a project, right? And that was coming up, and you found him through his Instagram. And I found that to be this idea of, I always tell people there's not going to be an exact path. So you don't want to copy somebody else and go like, that's the only way to get there. You be you, and be you at a really high level, and keep getting better. And then you will be discovered for being great, And so here he comes in. He's got a great look, by the way. And I know he's already.
Oh my gosh, he's so fascinating. And he walked into the office, and he went by, and we had seen him. We were looking. It was a project looking for bicycle riders, of course. And he came into the office, and I mean, I knew that he had the dreads and the whole thing, but I was like, oh, he walked by, and I'm like, oh my God, there he is. He walked, and we weren't repping him at the time. We were obviously trying to help our client because they were like, we need some more, ethnic bike riders, whatever, be older. And so Eric is walking out of the office, and I said, hey, can you come in my office? And I mean, his eyes were like this big, oh God, I don't want to go in there. And I said, sit down. And he's like, okay. And he said, I'm Eric. I said, yes, I know. And I said, you are incredible. I just love, your look. He's like, oh no, I'm not tall enough, and I'm too old. And I said, no, you are it. You stay right there. Exactly. And it was just funny because, he shot, did some incredible pics with Brad Reed. And what I saw in him was really that high level advertising today, which is almost, a lot of the things that he's booked, including like Apple and things like that, where you're looking at that. It's like a sophisticated talent, but with a twist, which is today. I mean, it's like, somebody who looks distinguished and sophisticated, but then he's got the dreads, like very long dreads. And so it was this really like almost, he and I were talking about it 2 days ago. It's funny because he's like, I remember having you sit me down in your office, and I didn't know who you were. And I said, hey, and he's like, and now we're like buddies. I said, oh yes. So there is no path. You're right. And,
well, the demographic he fits is the most interesting man in the world demographic.
Yes,
and,
very much so.
And that is a look, but guess what? It's a look that comes from the inside. That's the craziest part about it, because this man traveled the Underground Railroad on his bicycle, and he traveled as a nomad, not knowing where he was going to sleep. He met, different monks and stayed with monks and found angels along the way. I mean, he really is the most interesting man, and therefore he fits that demographic. Well, guess what? He's landing these big jobs. I don't know if you know this or not, but he's now training with us. He's now signed up for classes because he wants to get better. And that's the mindset you have to have. If you want to just like be good enough, then that's fine. You're going to land a couple jobs, and then you're going to fizzle out. But if you're like, hey, I'm on my path here and I found something, now let me push myself to see what else could I possibly do. And I really respect him as a person, but I also respect his mindset and the fact that he's going to continue to push himself and challenge himself to get better.
Yeah, because I don't think in his path that he was thinking, well, I'm going to be a model and an actor.
Right.
It was like, that wasn't even, I mean, he was like kind of like fish out of water in our office. He was just kind of like, I come in, I do my bicycle riding, and I'm leaving, I'm like, oh boy, today things are going to change for you, Mr. Eric.
Well, and I mean, if he's capable of doing the type of jobs you were talking about, now just like zoom out and think about every role he's capable of doing on TV or in movies, and it's like it's limitless. So this guy needs to just train at a high level. But this is everybody. I mean, everyone needs to train in various ways. You should be getting smarter every day. You should be getting more physically fit every day, working on your mind and working on your craft, whatever your craft may be. And I guarantee you, Sheree doesn't let a day go by that she's not working on her industry, working on her agency. And right now, thank you, but she's working on her agency. Like this is part of the work. You're right. We're spreading the word. The Ford Robert Black Agency, love. Woo. Go to FordRBA.com.
Cheers. Cheers. Do the cheers.
Do the cheers. I love it.
She's so great.
Okay. All right. Good. So, thank you for that. So that's my take on training. And I think here's the other thing too. I think we should talk about this. And you mentioned maybe we could talk about this. The idea of when actors should go to LA or a different market and what versus Arizona and whatnot. And we just had a talent on yesterday, and she's got a huge Instagram following, this girl, and she came to Phoenix to launch her career. She already had successful sort of like a mini following through weightlifting, and then came here and she's tripled her following. She's done like 100 jobs since COVID. This girl's like really, really dedicated. And I mean, of course, she's seeking a lot of them out, you know, but there's some really good paid ones. And now all of a sudden she's got like 50 people waiting to do work with her because of her Instagram following. And this is someone who's grinding. And the same idea, like she just landed an agency, like just. And, and so that idea of I have to go to a major market in order to be successful, I think I've always debunked that idea, but now even more than ever since COVID, now that everything's kind of just gone all over the place. So my personal advice to everybody, and I'll let you answer this as well, but my personal advice is go to LA if you love living in LA. If that's like your town, go there. If you love New York, go to New York. So for me, like I like LA. I don't love LA. Like I like it. So I like to visit LA. I don't really want to live there. It's just my choice. But I've worked there. You know, a lot of our biggest talent, the most famous people that we coach, don't live in LA. They live here, and then they travel there to do the job, and then they come back. They'll go to Utah for 3 months, and then come back. So and it's okay. Like sometimes there's the right person who's supposed to go there, and like that's cool. But it's not. It's just not going to be grass is greener on the other side necessarily, because we've got hundreds of stories of people that went there and then just kind of fizzled out and found some other thing or came back or whatever. And there's nothing wrong with coming back either, by the way. But just this idea of thinking that going to LA will automatically make you more successful or guarantee you that you get more jobs or more opportunities. And it's like there's going to be more auditions, but it might be hard to get the good ones. Like I know a lot of the people who leave to go to LA, their biggest auditions are here still. And they'll come back to Arizona to audition. So so I'd love to hear your take on that as well. But that's sort of my position on it.
Well, I think that because we are so close to LA, people, that's their dream, you know, like I'm going to get signed here and I'm going to do a little bit of work, but I really want to get out here to Hollywood, you know, and I'm like the biggest proponent of staying here. And really, once you start building a rapport with the clients, once you start getting repeat bookings from similar casting directors, clients, whatever it may be, then we can possibly discuss it. But, you know, for me, what ends up happening is, the cost of living for these people triples, right? And so, you know, we just talked about it yesterday with an agency that we work really well with in LA. And they said today, like, you can do everything virtually. Like the casting directors are putting people on tape. They're taking, all of these virtual submissions and whatnot. And our people can get in their car and in 5.5 hours be over in LA for the booking if they're doing the direct booking. Today, most of those casting directors in LA specifically aren't seeing people in person. And so, you know, things have definitely changed. You know, when it comes to the modeling side of things, it's a little bit different. You know, you need to be in a major market, you know, to be have the opportunities to really work with those clients. So it is a little different on the modeling side.
Let me ask you a question though, because I along those lines, because you were a model with Ford Robert Black early on when you're a youngster, and you've got so many models, and we had one of your models on actually a few days ago, a lovely young lady, and she talked about how she's already gone to Paris and been doing some modeling.
Karina Saylor.
Yeah, Karina. You know, Karina Saylor. Yeah, she's great.
Of course. Yeah.
Very, very, very cute young lady. And so, so having said that, those opportunities came to you and have come to her through Arizona, sort of, right? Yep. So what is the big difference then between that and being in a major market, so to speak? Or is that kind of, is there a way through Arizona to actually be like get the right opportunities that you need to then go on to the next thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think that here, speaking directly to specifically to the modeling industry, there's a craft to that as well. And you have to be able to move on set and know how, doing all the posing and actually be a model instead of just standing there and looking pretty. So there is a skill set to that. For me, if somebody is really gaining a lot of traction here and booking consistently, it's like, okay, here are the clients in these other major markets, let's just say LA, New York, that for you being in those markets, they may be saying, hey, we're hiring local, as they do here. And, people go back and forth a lot about LA because they say, oh, well, Sheree, I can be there. It's an hour plane ride, or it's just, a quick 5.5 hour, 6 hour trip in the car. And I said, but what you have to remember is that the client could confirm you at 3:00 in the afternoon for the next day, and you have an 8 a.m. call. So you get confirmed at 3 p.m. on Monday for an 8 a.m. call on Tuesday. So you better be ready to get in your car immediately at 3 and get a hotel to be there, or you're going to pay triple the amount of the flight fee because you're booking it last minute. So I think that people find that to be there. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because if you book at the last minute, which most of these things do, you've got to be willing to pay the price either way, So. Yeah. With the modeling thing, we're very fortunate to be connected with a lot of the major agencies in the big markets, and so they're constantly watching our talent and seeing who are we signing, what are these people booking, is this somebody that we can bring to these markets.
And I was gonna ask you about that. So is there you do have a bridge, and you're very welcoming to that idea of if there are some models out there who are very curious and want to do this, that they could start with Ford Robert Black, knowing that you would be able to have some contacts to help bridge them over to another agency or a secondary agency to help them go to another level?
Yes, absolutely. So for us in that respect, I mean, we're what's called in the agency, we act as a mother agent, and that is basically, typically it's the agency who first signs you, who first develops you and grooms you and acts like your mother. And so, I mean, I've been a mother agent on people for 20 years, the same person. So it's kind of a manager type as well. Sure. So the goal as the mother agent is for us to get talent placed in these other markets, and we retain them obviously on our roster, but we also collect a commission from the other agency that we're working with. So we get a 10% fee of everything that model does. And so we're helping obviously on the back end, making sure that, they're staying in shape, their skin, talking to the mothers, dealing with all of the, I don't know how to do my laundry and this and that, and all the things that go along with moving to another market, is where, we really come in to play. But, it's a big, revenue stream for us. But also, getting models who are walking in the major, fashion week shows in New York and Milan and Paris, that's another big, part of our agency, certainly. So we've been very fortunate to have people, gracing the magazines and certainly, booking a lot of these national campaigns and things like that. So that's really exciting because they start here, they get the grooming and some practice and, kind of a little bit of a taste of the industry, and then for them to really be able to land these big, national clients, they have to be in a major market in the modeling world.
Sure, that makes sense. All right, well, a lot of what we're talking about here has been written in a book, and I'm gonna transfer over. We didn't realize this, but it's time now for Brian Sweeney's Shameless Plugs. Shameless Plugs. So today we have another special guest. We didn't even realize this, but Brian Sweeney can't be here. But we have Jean-Claude Van Sweeney, and he's
Claude Van Sweeney.
Yeah, so he's here to review the book here, one of his favorite books, Jean-Claude.
And I think Jean-Claude would also is interested in modeling. So,
yes.
Oh, okay, Jean-Claude, yay.
I may be sending you a Zoom link, as you say. I was just reading the book. Acting is my day job. 7 strategies to market and make money as an actor. I have read this so many times, Matthew, and I thank you for your help.
Sure,
I
Jean-Claude.
literally read it so many times. I'm reading it backwards now. I enjoy reading it backwards.
What's your favorite part when you go backwards?
Oh, my favorite part when I go backwards is right in the middle where there are these little handouts you have done, the character breakdowns and these things, because it just makes me laugh to do the numbers upside down too.
Sure.
This is so funny for me.
So when you read backwards, you actually read the word backwards, like character breakdown. Like what? How would you say that backwards?
Oh, I would say.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Interesting.
yes.
Okay.
It's like learning another
Amazing,
language.
yes.
Yes. I would say bourgeois de
So, Jean-Claude, where did you get your copy of the book?
Well, I got my copy on Amazon, but I was doing some research, and you can get it pretty much everywhere.
Really?
Yeah, I found it in Target. I was at Target, and I was at Walmart, and I think even maybe some of the local agents may end up with copies. I don't even know.
Oh, boy,
it's possible.
I bet.
It's possible.
Jean-Claude, in order to be a model, what have you been doing? What have you been working on in order to get yourself ready for
this is a
modeling?
question I get asked a lot.
Sure.
Yeah. I've been doing a lot of the face exercises in front of the mirror. A lot of movement. Yes. Sheree knows. I see. And just a lot of just poses, practicing the poses into the mirror.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go live on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh wow! So you can find Jean-Claude at
Really working the industry. Yes.
Yes. Right now,
face exercises and going live on Instagram. That
Yeah.
makes you a model.
That's
oh,
it.
thank you so much. Yes, I'm very excited about it.
All right, awesome. I'll give Jean-Claude a big cheers and a laugh.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
I'll get my friend Brian now.
All right, well, Brian, I didn't hear from you, so we might have a bit of a quiet audience today online. If there are any questions, I would take them. Otherwise, I think we're right at time. Believe it or not, we've kind of.
I do have one more, and
Okay.
it's actually from our soundtrack person from the beginning. It's from
What?
Astrid.
Okay,
Yes.
love it.
Who is also not signed.
Yeah,
Throwing that out.
just throwing it out there. Shameless
Shameless
plug. So her question was, and I thought this was really interesting. She said, if I can find it here.
Do we have the Jeopardy music on this?
Yeah, go ahead and Jeopardy it up.
Exactly.
There's so many. It was pretty fun. Now it's making me nervous, guys. Okay, got it. What is your ideal client-agent relationship? As far as like the relationship between the two, what does that look like ideally for you as far as communication goes and all of that?
Client meaning like the talent.
Yeah,
right?
like the talent.
The model
Yeah.
actor. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, speaking very candidly, I go to a booking comes in. Sometimes, a client will say, "We love your recommendation on who fits this part," and so I'm very. I think we're all this way, but I'm going to go to the person that I know is going to get back to me very quickly, via email or via my call. And not the person that I have to chase around and DM and call their mother and call the boyfriend and find them on Instagram or whatever it may be. So first and foremost, like communication is the biggest part about it. And at the end of the day, this is a business and it's a fun business, but, I have people I email and I mean, I did it yesterday. I emailed them and like, here we go. Here's all the information. And, then, she texts me back, "Hey, I got your email." It's like, no, I sent you an email. Like, let's stay on this communication chain kind of thing, And so I think that we deal with a lot of young people, let's just say hypothetically teens. I would think by today, most people should know how to send an email and how those things work. But, one of the biggest things is in our office, there's several people who work on different projects who are doing different types of bookings. So let's just say Sheree sends you an email for a job for tomorrow and you respond back to Matt. "Hey, Matt, I'm available for that job." And Matt's like, "I don't know what job you're talking about. I didn't, we're all working on different projects." So it's about really staying in communication with the person that's booking you on that project or, who's checking your avail or whatever it may be. Today, not being able to be found is not an option. I mean, when I grew up in the industry, I mean, we didn't have cell phones. Like by high school, I had a pager. Now, Matt, you can speak to the pager. Come
I
on
can.
now.
Yep. Although I wasn't cool
like,
enough to
I get a
have one. My dad had a
like-
pager. I never got to have a pager. I wish I had a pager.
Today, we're so like over available
Yeah.
to a fault at times, I believe. So the business is a very time sensitive industry. And so if you are not responding and you're not getting back to your agent quickly, you're probably going to miss out on the opportunity. So number one for me is communication and, transparency in your availability.
And let's be real. We all know you can't hide from mom. Mom will get a hold
She's
of
gonna
you.
find you. She's going to reprimand you.
One way or another, mom's gonna get a hold of you.
If you're like in your late teens or in your 20s and I end up having to call your mother, like it's probably not going to be good, you know?
Down the same lines, I get this question a lot too, so I thought this might be a good time to answer this for anybody who's listening, which is how do you select your agent? Like, how do you go about that process? And all the agents have different ways of submitting to them. You know, as Sheree said, they used to have an open call. I'm sure that'll come back at some point because there's a purpose for them for why they like to do the open call process. But here's what I tell everybody, because I obviously cannot take favorites. Because people we get recommended by all of them, so we're never going to tell you go there ever. But what we will tell you is Google Google the agent you're thinking about. Go to their website and get a feel. Like there's a feel immediately, and you'll see like do I vibe with this type of agency? Does this meet? Does this feel like me? Right? And then if you go and you interview with an agent, do you get a good rapport? You know, is there something about this agent that you're like, yes, like I feel like there's a good, chemistry here. Now, having said that, you don't need to be friends with your agent because your agent is, I mean, it's a business relationship at the end of the day, and they need to be making money. You want them making money. You don't want them having coffee with all of their actors or models because then they wouldn't be out there making you money. So it's not that. It's more like, am I a Ford Robert Black? Like, is that the feeling when I go there and I walk in the building and I meet Sheree? Like, does it feel like me? And if it does, then you're in the right spot. That's kind of like the best advice I can give actors and models for like when they're choosing.
Exactly. And it's a personal relationship, right? It's not like your car mechanic or the person who, whatever, any other kind of service that you're taking. It is a personal relationship. And thankfully, we've been fortunate to have relationships with people that go on for decades.
Yeah.
And so it is very personal. And I would encourage people to, if you get the opportunity, to meet with as many agents as you can, because then you're not like, oh, I wonder what it would be like over here. Or, there's always that question, as you talked about earlier in the show about, the grass is greener. And we've, no one has been negated from this. We have talent who leave us for another agency. And more often, not just us, but I'm sure this is the case with other agencies, people come back and they're like, oh, I thought it was like this over there, or they were going to do this, or they promised that. And they come back and it's like, you see, like, that you kind of make up things in your mind about what the relationship should really be. And at the end of the day, yes, you want to have a healthy and personal relationship, but we don't have to be best friends.
Yeah, and I find that when that happens, it's usually not an agency comparison, but it's another talent that they are comparing themselves to. That is landing things or doing things, and they're not paying attention to the grind underneath. They're only looking at the result on top. And then they're saying, well, that person's with this agency, so it must be the agency that's making them successful. There's no way this person is working harder than I am. And maybe that's what they should be looking at, right? Yeah, so I love that perspective. And, if we can wrap the show here, I can tell you, Sheree, from talking to you a couple times now, and we have a sort of a relationship that's been ongoing for a long time, but I'm just now getting to know you really at a deeper level. And I just trust you. I mean, that's the one thing. Like when I talk to you, you're very relatable. Your communication is off the charts, which I think from our perspective too, from the actor and casting director perspective, I want my agent to be a really good communicator. because at the end of the day, they're representing me. They are communicating on my behalf a lot of the times to try to negotiate and to make sure that, you know, that I'm being treated fairly, etc. And so, thank you for being who you are, for being such a wonderful part of this industry for so long. And I love your story of taking over the agency. I mean, so cool.
Thank you, guys. I'll come over and take out your trash if you want.
Yep.
Cheers.
Yeah, we'll take you up on that. We'll wait till one of our bigger events, and then we'll schedule you in for trash duty.
Yay!
All right,
you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on, and have an excellent rest of your weekend.
All right, you too. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Mornings with Matt. You can find Sheree Hartwell. You can go to Camera Ready with Sheree Hartwell. You can find her on Instagram, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. She's there. And if you're interested in an agent and you're just curious, you wanna go meet them or submit, highly recommend go to fordrba.com and look at the submission process. Reach out. You can even say you heard about them on the show here, and maybe they'll give you a little extra, you know, special treatment.
Exactly.
But yeah, so thank you all for watching. This has been a great show. Mornings with Matt. Please do not forget to subscribe, like, share, comment. All the good stuff on this channel. Help us spread this light-driven content to the planet. Thank you, and God bless.
Bye, everyone. Take
Bye.
care.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.
Have a chippy day, everyone.